This one is from an attendee from last time, Clifford. So he's asking, is spiking someone with drugs classed as administering poison? If so, why does this score higher than using a noxious substance to cause harm and intimidate? Is administering poison in this respect a potential harm, while using a noxious substance will be definitive harm? These have crime harm index scores of 3285 and 2190 respectively.
Now, Eleanor Nehru has probably encountered and grappled with more crime categories and tried to appreciate their logic than anybody else on our team. Eleanor, do you want to comment on that one in the context of there being 15,000 some offense types, and we've only got 750 of them with clear guidelines and classifications? But is there a good general answer to those kinds of specifics as a problem, considering they're both kind of attempted murders? And you want to turn on your mic?
Yep.
Thanks.
So actually, when I went back and looked at this, the scores weren't correct. They weren't using the same logic. Because they both said with endangering life. So I've actually gone and changed them, and we'll have a new version with them scoring the same of 3,285 points in the end.
Good. Thank you, Clifford. You've improved our crime harm index tools available to the English and Welsh police working with them. Thank you.
Yeah, basically because they're both saying endangering life, they should have both been scored as attempted murder. And for one, I'd used an aggravated version of GBH with intent, and the other one I hadn't. So I went back and looked, double checked, and I think it makes more sense for them to both be the consistent higher score. It is tricky with these offences because there's so many different things where it says noxious substance, administering poison, and it's not always clear exactly how they should score when they're being sentenced. There's no sentencing guidelines, so then I have to use sort of proxy offences. So yeah, there was just a little mistake here out of the 700 offences that we did score.
Great. Well, constant tracking is a way to lead to constant or continuous quality improvement. So thanks again, Clifford. Thank you, Eleanor, for your very open-minded approach to dealing with this. Peter, your comment.
Yeah, the example that was given is just a perfect illustration of the rather overwhelming need for England and Wales to reform the Offences Against the Person Act, which is the most gloriously out-of-date piece of Victorian legislation, full of words that we don't use these days, and drafted in a way that does reflect its 1860s origins, and I suspect also the language almost implies that the poisoner is going to be a woman. It is that kind of old-fashioned legislation, and it's. I'm sorry, but it reads like the product of a Victorian crime magazine, and the Law Commission has been trying to reform that legislation for over 20 years. It is over time to get that sorted out, because when the other aspects of it were sorted out in the up-to-date modern sexual offences legislation, the process became much clearer, and the concepts were applied consistently across the different parts of the legislation, and that is a bigger piece. When you start doing what we've been doing with the crime harm stuff, you start picking up some very significant problems with some of the existing criminal justice legislation. And as Eleanor's pointed out, we do our best to try and make it consistent across the piece and to be as transparent in the way that we do it, so you can see our workings, which is, I think, the critical thing.
Absolutely.